What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Paintball Roundtable. I am your host, as always, Alex, and I am joined by my co-host, as always, other Alex. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. So basically, this Paintball Roundtable is the question and answer Paintball Roundtable that I put the video up not too long ago, asking you guys for your input and your questions. Obviously, we didn't get thousands of questions, but we got a good amount of questions. Certainly enough to make a very lengthy and I think good discussion and opinion-based paintball roundtable off of. And the questions that we did get, I think, were very, very good quality questions that we can really go in depth on a lot of things and kind of just bring up some real good discussion between the two of us. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
Do you want to start off with the first question?
All right. This one's from Jim Bob. What are your thoughts on the Etek 5? I'm looking to upgrade my gun, and I'm not sure if it'd be worth the extra money to get the Etek 5 or the Etek 4. What do you think?
What do I think? I know right off the bat. If I remember correctly, and I almost want to pull up the email as I do this just to make sure, I believe the Etek 5 mat price as it was coming out was going to be $500. I think.
I think $550.
It was $5 or $550. I'm gonna pull up the email just so I can make sure here, and I would love to actually see the email instead of get all this crap in here. Okay, right here. So, if my email would like to load, currently, if there are any, if you're buying an Etek 4 brand new from any of the online stores, I don't have any left in stock here, but if you're buying them on like A&S Gear and like that, the mat price on the Etek 4 LT, the composite part version, went down to $400. And as far as the future goes with the Etek 5, there is only one model, Etek 5. They're not doing the AM and the LT thing. They will all be quote-unquote LT with the composite parts and all that junk. The Etek 5, yeah, you were right, $550.
So basically he's asking, do I spend the $400 on the 4, or should I spend $550
on the 5? Yeah.
So is it worth the extra $150?
Without having had an Etek to physically check out, like here in store, and get to shoot it and all that junk, I think that's a hard question to answer. I don't know if you're getting an extra $150 worth of gun with the Etek 5. I mean, let's just look at the differences. You're looking at the biggest real difference, I think, between the two. Differences between the two. You're going to the Zik 3 rammer kit.
Yep.
Over the Zik 2 rammer kit, so it's going to be a little bit of a smoother shot. You're going to the Cure 5 bolt. It's basically the same bolt that's in the LV one over the previous. I don't know if the Etek 4 even came with the Cure 4. It might have come with Cure 3. I could be mistaken.
I think it was the 3, actually.
I can't. I just don't. I don't recall.
I'm sure somebody will make a comment.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will. I'm sure somebody will throw in the comments how wrong I am that it came with Cure 4 and not Cure 3. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to be a super big difference between going from Cure 3 or Cure 4 to Cure 5 bolt. But I think realistically, the biggest big difference is the whole front section of the gun and how it feels in your hands, because it has that. The LPR, tack placed, not replaced, repositioned. There we go. There's a word I'm looking for. Repositioned down below that second tube where you have the poppet spring and the poppet itself, just like the LV one. And they milled that little front cap where the poppet and the poppet spring are to be just like the LV one. So you've got that nice sweeping, really flat-faced feel on the front of the Etek 5, which I think, if anything, is probably the biggest difference that people, I think, either want the Etek 5 over, or are just in general looking at it as that's the difference between the two guns. So in my opinion, depending on what your gun history is, how many guns you've personally owned, how many guns you've had like either used or new, if you've had other Eteks in the past or old Egos or something like that. My feeling is that you may not notice the performance difference between the Zik 2 and the Zik 3 rammer kit, and you may not notice the performance differences with the new Cure 5 bolt. So really what you're paying for is a slightly milled down and lighter body and that LV1 feel up front with those new grips. And I guess the ability to drop in an OLED display, which I actually recently found out in an email, I believe this is $100 and something, right around $100, to get that drop-in OLED board.
$100, really? That's what they're charging?
It was like $90 or $100, I believe.
I was kind of hoping it'd be $40 to $50 drop-in, especially because of the price point of the gun.
Right, yeah.
So now you're paying $650 for an Etek.
Yeah. Personally, I have an issue with that. So I think, to me, what I'm looking at between the two guns is I think the Etek 5 looks really cool. I think they did a good job with it. Is it worth an extra $150 over an Etek 4? I'm almost leaning on the side of maybe not. As long as you're buying the Etek 4 brand new.
Right.
That's the two price points you're looking at, really. Because if you're looking at buying these guns used, obviously you can pick up a used Etek 4 for probably like $250.
Right, yeah.
So that's a huge price difference. In that regard, Eteks don't really have big problems and issues as far as breaking down and stuff like that. So I'd almost say go with the used Etek 4 all day long, because it's probably going to save you like $300-$400.
Right, but if he's thinking new...
If he's thinking brand new, I find it that I would have a hard time arguing to buy the Etek 5 over the Etek 4 brand new for that extra $150. Unless you're really dead set on getting the OLED board, and that feeling in your hands of the LV1 style up front is that big of a difference to you. So I think there's a little bit of personal preference and personal, just like user options and user preferences. Me personally, knowing how an LV1 feels in the hands and knowing how an Etek 4 feels in the hands, I would buy the Etek 5.
Yeah.
Because that makes a huge difference to me. How comfortable that gun is in my hands, that severely affects how I'm playing out on the field. Because if it's so uncomfortable to the point where it's noticeable and it's in my head when I'm playing, that's game-breaking to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's nitpicky because I'm used to high-end guns, but that's how it is to me. So, to me, I would buy the Etek because of that, and I know the performance differences with the parts.
What?
The Etek 5.
5, yeah.
And I know the performance differences I'm getting with that Zik 3 rammer kit and that Cure 5 bolt. And I love the having the option of dropping in that OLED display regardless of the price.
Yeah.
But, if you're just kind of getting into paintball and this might be one of your first guns or something like that, I'd probably swing towards the Etek 4.
Yeah, if it's going to be one of your very first guns, and you can't really compare it to anything, I would say the Etek 4 will probably be fine. But kind of what you're saying with the 5, the recessed LPR, it's a big thing for me because I cannot stand the external LPRs on any guns.
Right.
And I do like the way you can throw a board in it, the OLED screen in the future.
Yep.
And the updated parts, kind of basically everything you said. If you have nothing to compare it to, then you're not going to notice the difference of the Zik 3 or the new bolt. So for the extra $150,
it sounds like you're on the fence. You're kind of swinging towards the same way I was, where if it's one of his first guns, probably swing more towards the Etek 4.
Yeah, save the $150 and put that towards other gear to go with it.
Yeah, put that towards
a better loader, a better tank.
Yeah, you can buy yourself a rotor with that, or a Spire,
or actually, number one thing would be a new barrel, because they do come with a large bore barrel.
They do come with a large bore barrel, so you can get yourself some. You don't even have to get a whole new barrel kit. You can if you want with that $150. You could get most any barrel kit you want for the most part. At least enough to where it's usable. You can get a whole full loaded free kit for that.
Right. But if you get one of the special edition kind of colors and you want the barrel tip to match, then
then you can pick up some shaft 4 backs that are available for $45 a pop. You can get 3 of them. You have a full barrel kit, and you're all set.
Right, absolutely. So if it's going to be your very first gun, the 4, it's going to be fine. Save the extra money, get a new barrel back.
Yep.
The 5, you're still going to need to get that barrel back because no one's shooting paint that large that they come with. They come with like a 690 plus size barrel.
Right, yeah.
So no matter what, and that all comes down to loudness. I know that the Etek 4 is a real loud gun. The 5, just from, I haven't personally shot it yet because we're still waiting for the field to get it.
Yeah.
But the 4s, they're loud, they're kicky. Everybody online is saying that the 5 is, basically just the baby brother of the LV1 as in the field. It's basically a comparison between the LV1 and the Etek 4. If you put them right in the middle, that's what it sounded like.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely what I've been hearing from the internets. But I do have to say, I take everybody on the internet is saying for an absolute grain of salt, because it's always, you never hear anything, the popular comments that rise to the surface on the popular posts that everybody ends up seeing are never the, wow, I tried this thing and I have to say this part of it was really deal breaking for me, it really sucks. You always hear, it's great, it's awesome, it's good, I like it, blah, 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 blah. You always hear the super great things, and then you finally get it and it's like, this has happened with so many products before. This is so good, and then we finally get it and it's like, this is a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
So that's what I would watch out for. I would love to give you a better opinion on it. However, I just haven't had a chance to deal with one in person yet. But on pure speculation, I think we're both pretty much on the same fence. Where if it's one of your first guns or something like that, save the cash, go with the Etek 4. If not, if you got some experience under your belt and you really know what you're looking for in a gun, go hit up that Etek 5.
Yep.
Cool. So let's go on to the next question. We're going down to a question by YouTube user Christian Madrill. I apologize if I slaughtered that. He simply wants us to do a loader comparison. Well, that's a very vague question.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of do a little bit of generalized discussion on loaders and what we think about them.
Yeah, these should be all opinion too, because I know.
I was just gonna say you guys have to take into account. This has been an issue in some of my previous videos. This is our humble opinion on stuff, unless we're stating otherwise that this is a fact, that this is what this is. If we're stating a fact, like we just did with the Etek 5, the map is $550. That is a fact because I have an email from Planet Eclipse from my dealer saying, here's the pricing, the Etek 5 is going to be $550. That kind of stuff. Everything else that sounds like, oh, well, I think they're wrong. That's opinions. Those are opinions. Please do not ridicule. Everybody has their own opinions. I'm certainly not going to ridicule you for your opinions. I would love to hear your opinions, and I would love to hear why you either agree or disagree with us. That's what these roundtables, and that's what this whole community is all about. It's all about discussion, and I want to just hear as many opinions as possible and have good civil conversation about this.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about loaders.
All right, what's your favorite loader?
What is my favorite loader?
What do you think is the best loader?
What do I think is the best loader?
Yeah, because it might not be your favorite, but what do you think is the best loader out in the market?
The rotor.
I agree.
No, zero hesitation. Every single time I will tell you the die rotor is the best paintball loader on the market.
All right, now next question is, what is your favorite loader?
The Spire.
Mine too.
All right. Good talk.
Yeah.
All right.
So the best versus favorite, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And normally people will say, I want the best of something.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just because it's the best doesn't mean it's going to be your favorite.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you can say that about quite a lot of products in paintball in general. There's a lot of products where you can say this is the best of this category of product, but this is my favorite. I'm just trying to come up with something off the top of my head, but I'm trying to make it up on the fly, and it's not working. But the point is that just to start off this loader conversation, I think the rotor versus the spire is always going to be the biggest question in loaders. But we will talk about other loaders here in a minute. So right off the bat, just to quell this debate, again, opinions. Please don't flame. In my opinion, the rotor, mechanically, the way it operates and the way it feeds paint into a marker, there is not a better system in any loader in paintball, or ever has been, that does that consistently, without error, ease of maintenance with the system. I don't think can be any. I think, as far as simplicity goes, I think it's just as simple as the spire. Yeah. The spire has less parts to take out. I don't think that means it's any simpler. I think there's nothing more complicated about the die rotor. It's all very self-explanatory. Yeah. I see people mess up putting spires back together just as much as I see people mess up putting rotors back together. Right. Yeah. Which in both cases is almost never. But when it does happen, I see it happen an equal amount of times. But other than that, the way a rotor feeds paint into a marker without hesitation, without skipping, right down to that very last ball. I never have popcorning in my rotor. I've never had that issue. I've never had it not be able to keep up with a gun, except for one time, and it turned out my batteries had been in my rotor for 2 years, so they were dead, and obviously that's not the loader's fault. That's me just being an idiot for not changing the batteries. There's no other way around it. It's got one button, on and off.
Yeah, there's no eyes that get dirty, no sensors that need to be calibrated.
No, there's no software programming that you have settings for, or that needs to be changed or adjusted. It does have a physical adjustment, which is the tension. Yeah. Chances are you'll never touch that in your entire life, and you'll never notice it.
Yeah, well, one thing I do is whenever customer has any kind of issue with them, is I back them out.
Right, because obviously from the tech side, if we're teching, somebody comes in and says, I think there's something wrong with my rotor, as techs, we always assume that they touched everything. Yeah. So that's why we do it. Other than that, if I know it's stock, I would never touch it.
Yeah. So, and I'm pretty much agreeing the same thing. It's mechanical. Mm-hmm. It's not. There is a board on it, but I think that board basically pretty much just tells the motor, or gives the motor power, and I think it lights up the light. It's not an actual board, I don't think, because.
Well, I mean, it does have that when a certain amount of tension.
That's all mechanical.
It hits that button, which is all mechanical. Right. But that button shuts off that electric, disconnects that electric circuit, which basically just turns the motor off. It's not initiating software.
Right. Really, exactly.
Really, it's not really, setting an algorithm in motion to turn the board on or off or whatever like that. It's literally just board off.
It's a dumb motor basically.
It really is.
It's not thinking the whole time.
Yeah.
It's just, I pick things up and put them down. Right. Basically that.
Right. It gets to the point where if you, I feel like someone's brought this up before, where they almost classify the rotor as an assisted gravity feed, not an agitator. Yeah. But an assisted gravity feed, because it's really, there's nothing forcing paint in there like a lot of other loaders do with the raceways and that kind of thing. Which I think you can go both ways with the rotor, because it kind of does have a raceway, and there is, it does have the screw that's forcing paint down in there, but at the same time, it's not like what you think of a traditional raceway with the drive cone of other loaders. That I don't really care about that. Right. But I think there is no question between the two of us, at least, that the rotor is the best loader, hands down, on the market.
Yeah, I don't. I've used them for years. Only time I have jams. Actually, I only had jam once during one event, and the paint was so swollen that it actually got stuck in a different teammate's breech.
Yep.
So, like, if it gets stuck in a breech, it's gonna get stuck in any loader out there. It doesn't matter what kind of loader it is. Right. If the ball can't get through the breech of the gun, then that ball is super swollen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, that and dead batteries is literally the only time I've ever seen a rotor go down.
And I would say that's a downfall with the rotor, as in there's no indicator light for when the battery's dead, because you literally can go almost a whole season on the same set of batteries.
Right, because that little blue light in the power button will stay on literally until it physically turns itself off because it's so dead.
Yeah, I mean, in the LED, how many volts does that thing take in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Half a volt or something?
Nothing.
So that's the one downfall, is you don't know when to change your batteries.
Some kind of battery indicator would be cool, but that's little nitpicky stuff.
Right, and that's kind of off topic of comparing loaders, because I don't think the Spire tells you when you have a low battery either.
No. Trying to think back to the last loader that did.
The Halos.
Yep, the Halos did. Yep.
I don't know much about Pinocchios.
Didn't the eggs have low battery life?
Yeah, absolutely, the eggs. And the Revolutions.
The Revy, the old 12 volt, the 9 volt Revies.
Yeah. So, but it'd just be, it's nice to know when your batteries are dead.
Yeah. All right, so moving on from the rotor, we're both in agreements the Spire is our favorite loader.
Yeah.
Why is it your favorite loader?
The capacity and the size of it. I always ran the high cap on the rotor, and I hated it because it was so big.
It is really tall.
So I got the Spire 260. It's smaller than the standard rotor. And it's holding an extra 60 paintballs.
Yep.
I mean,
can't argue with that.
And I love that. It's not.
It may not be exactly 60, but it is pure fact that a Spire 260 is almost identically the same size as a standard rotor when you put them on a gun.
Yeah. And the thing that sucked was, you're just shooting paint, and like with a rotor with a regular 200 cap shell on it.
Yeah.
You're throwing away so much paint. I don't like to shoot my loader empty.
Right, no, I don't either,
so then you go fill up, and then you have 20 paintballs or so.
Yeah.
And then it's just more annoying, kind of get your head out of the game.
Yeah, you get 20 or 30 paintballs, it's like enough to where you don't want to just dump it on the ground, but you can't really just like put it on the ground.
Yeah.
So you're like holding on to it, and it's messing up your game, which I know is very, very specific of an incident to talk about with this problem. But it is a problem, and I think any tourney ball player with a standard size loader, most tourney ball players will not shoot their loaders dry.
Right.
They'll shoot it to 3/4 or maybe a fifth left, and then they'll go to fill, and you end up with that 10, 15, 20 rounds left over in the pod, and it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's not like there's 2 or 3.
Right. If it's 2, I don't care about 2 or 3 paintballs. I care about 20 paintballs.
Yeah.
That could make or break a game.
Yeah, but then one of the downfalls with the Spire, because it's not the best.
Right.
The way the drive cone is.
Yep.
If you're just laning and you're keeping your gun up, and then you dump that pod in with your other hand, that drive cone actually gets in the way.
It does.
You need to give it a slight shake.
It does. You're sitting there, you're holding the lane, and I had this happen this season. Because I run a standard size Spire, just the regular 200 Spire. Granted, my rotor is always in my gear bag.
Oh yeah, you have to have one.
I run my standard size 200 round Spire, and I have that problem where I go, especially because I'm using the Crown SF and not a lid.
Right.
I go to put a pod of paint in, and I get 3/4 of the pod, and then there's a quarter of a pod just sitting there. There's like 40 paintballs just sitting there, and I gotta like shake it and kind of move it a little.
It's not shaking like.
It's not shaking.
Like you're trying to get one more ball. It's just a quick little.
Yeah, it's just
shake.
It's just a little.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it kind of falls in, but that is an aggravation for a super high end loader.
Right. And it's not as fast as the rotor.
Right, which I have certainly physically seen with my own eyes multiple times. It is a fantastic loader, and it keeps up with,
Yeah, PSP mode, basically, that's the one big thing with a lot of people with the PSP modes. Loader speed is not real high up there.
That's where I see the problem. That's where I see the problems highlighted with the Spire, is not in PSP mode.
Right.
Because as far as I can tell, I've never seen a Spire have problems keeping up in PSP mode because it's consistent. It's always the same speed that paint's going through every time. The speed doesn't slow down because it's at that ramping and it's maintained. I see the problems with the Spire when people are shooting semi.
Yeah, because it doesn't feed as fast consistently
as the rotor.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm going to say Halo will feed faster and more consistent.
I'd say Halo and a Z2 will feed consistently at a faster rate than the Spire. I would put money on that.
Yeah, I don't want to shoot those though.
I don't want to shoot those either.
So exactly. So
I shoot the Spire for definitely. I absolutely agree with your two reasons for shooting the Spire over the rotor. Big things for me is I play snake front. I need a really, really light, small hopper, which the rotor is neither of. The rotor it's got a bit of weight to it comparatively to a standard size Spire. And because I run a standard size Spire, that compared to a regular size rotor, there's a huge difference in profile.
Oh yeah.
The difference in profile and the difference in weight is purely the reason I went with the Spire.
Yeah.
100%. I didn't go with the Spire because, if the Spire was absolute garbage and it didn't feed, obviously I wouldn't have gone with the Spire. I would have stayed with my rotor.
Yeah.
But it works well enough to where it didn't, it was acceptable. I literally went with the Spire just because of the weight and the profile.
Yeah.
But I certainly agree with why you went with it. There's absolutely no question about the fact that a Spire 260 is the same size as a standard rotor. Never mind, way smaller than a rotor with a high cap shell.
Yeah.
You definitely can't argue that. So, yeah, definitely favorite loader, Spire, best loader, rotor.
Yeah, and then, the Z2s, they're fine. I've shot them. I don't play hard enough where I'm not afraid of the nose cone flying off.
No, I don't know if I can say the same thing because I'm diving a lot and running and sprinting and I'm hitting the ground hard a lot.
Yeah.
Granted, I've only probably played a handful of games in my entire life with a Z2. I've never been interested in owning one because I've always had my rotor and I've never had a reason to own a Z2.
Yeah.
Because I started off, I swapped from a Halo straight to a rotor instead of going to like a Z2 or something like that. I hear bad things about them. I hear good things about them. I hear problems with the nose cone flying off.
Yeah, the biggest thing I hear is basically just the nose cone issue and the way all the speed feeds have to latch on because it's magnetic.
Yeah.
And that's, I guess, two kind of big deals. Afraid of losing half your loader, so it's no longer going to work.
In which you lose your entire loader worth of paint.
Yeah. The speed feed part, basically if you're an aggressive player, I'm going to say that the Z2 is not going to be for you. If you're less aggressive, it should be fine. Because the nose cone's not going to fall off for no reason. The lid's not going to pop open for no reason.
Right.
And the reason that it would do is if you're diving a lot, where they should be built to be able to withstand it all.
They should be. I feel I have more experience with the Z2 from the tech side than with the playing side, and from the tech side, they feel like a flimsy loader.
Yeah, I do.
I don't like the way all the parts go together. I feel like it's cheap.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not, they didn't put a lot of effort into making sure that, this is solid. This is a solid product.
Yeah.
I feel like that wasn't really there. They didn't they ran the whole race and they just kind of coasted to the finish. They didn't, they didn't try too hard. I really dislike the way it comes apart from a tech side anyway.
Yeah, at first I loved it until I actually got to take one apart,
And
then it comes apart pretty okay.
And then it does not go together pretty okay.
Yeah, it's a real pain to get it back together.
Opinion, by the way, opinion. Which I think is a shame because it's a really small profile loader. I think it looks good. Yeah. Visually, I think it looks nice. It's small profile. It's light. It's really light. There's certainly nothing wrong with the drive cone system.
No, and it all comes down. The capacity is was blah, 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 blah. The capacity is why I didn't get it from my Halo. I went for my Halo, and then it was time for the rotor.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do I want the rotor? I want the Z2 because the Z2 just came out.
Yep.
And basically, actually no, I think I had my rotor, and then I said I want the Z2, and then I found out the Z2 actually holds less paint than the rotor. And I was already bitching about the rotor not having enough paint. So basically I said, when the Z2 comes out with the extended nose cone, I will buy it. Mm-hmm. World Cup 2 years ago, they had them. And I said, that is ugly and big. I'm just stick with my rotor. Just because I know it works.
Yeah. And speaking on that extended nose cone, I know it doesn't look super great, but I think that's one of the things that Empire really did right with the Z2 is the way they did that extended high capacity version of their loader, which I think you can pretty much see a copy of with Virtue's Spire.
Yeah.
They replaced the front section of the nose cone, so it didn't make the loader taller, it didn't make the loader wider, it made it longer. Which if you're looking at the profile of gun. It doesn't to an extent. I'm not saying everybody should be out there with Pinocchios, but to an extent, it's not a big deal if your loader is an extra 2 inches longer.
Right.
Nothing is gonna change. You're not gonna notice a huge weight shift difference.
Yeah.
It's not taller, it's not wider. For the most part, there's really no difference. And you'd obviously see, Virtue did that as well with, the 260 shell, which is a drop-in, is basically just longer.
Yeah.
Which obviously Dye went the other way and just made their loader taller, which I think was the wrong way to go about it. But the way it's built, you really can't.
There's nothing else they could do.
There's nothing else you can do except go up. So.
Unless they had a bottom and a top piece and they dropped in the guts.
Right.
But basically it was just a quick fix. They said, we want to hold more paint. What can we do?
Yeah.
As a company, Dad's like, all right, what can we do to fix that? Let's make a new top that's a little bit taller. All right, easy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and maybe that's not the way it went down, but the way it certainly looks like that's the way that it went down. So, real quick, any other loaders you want to talk about real quick?
I don't have any experience with, but I don't like them. The Pinocchios. I think that they're really loud, and they just seem cheaply made. Even though, from what I understand, the plastic is super high quality plastic, but they just seem cheap to me. But people who have Pinocchios, they swear by them. They think they're the greatest thing in the world. I just don't see it in them. Do you have any experience with the Pinocchios?
I've got 2 good friends of mine that have Pinocchios, and I've borrowed them to try them once or twice. My problem is the thing is like half a foot tall.
Yeah.
It is so tall.
They look so huge and loud. And they look like they're just a Halo. But they can't be a Halo because then it'd be a patent issue. So
as far as like playing with it and shooting it, I didn't have any issues. Yeah. I think the mechanism and how it works, the little pressure switch lever that's in the feed neck, great idea. It works.
Like the ricochet.
It works great. And there's no real big issues with it.
Yep.
More power to them. They built a solid loader. I just don't think it has a place in modern tournament paintball.
No, you don't really. Especially, I don't even know what they're thinking with that nose cone either. Like who was at the board saying that nose cone is a good idea?
Well, I mean that's pretty much was the whole idea of the gun. That's why it's called the Pinocchio.
Yeah, the loader. I think it was like, I want to call this loader Pinocchio, so therefore it needs to look like it.
Oh.
Like who would even think?
I don't know if that's the way that went.
Yeah, I want to name this thing a Pinocchio. Let's make it look like Pinocchio.
And just because I don't think it has a place in modern tournament paintball doesn't mean it doesn't have a place in paintball.
Right.
There's plenty of room for it to have its own place here in paintball. I just don't like it. I personally would not shoot it. And I just don't like that it's amazingly tall.
Yeah.
I feel
well,
like...
Well, the smaller version, you get the Pinocchio Speed.
Right, which, and I believe those are, a little over $100, I think.
Yeah.
Like $120-ish, right around there. I just think for your money, you can go get a used rotor, and rotors are so dependable to the point where I think buying a used rotor is no different than buying a new rotor.
Yeah. People online, is that a version 1, 2, or 3? It's like, get a version 1, who cares?
Nobody cares, they're fine.
Yeah.
So you can go buy a used rotor for like $80.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah, or if you want to buy a brand new, you can go to
it's like $5 more than a brand new Halo. It's the same money, I think, as you can pretty much pay the same price as a brand new big Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Or a little less money than the new Pinocchio Speed. Half the price of a new rotor, half the price of a new Spire.
Yeah.
Get yourself a used rotor. Used Spires are still going for a lot of money.
Yeah, they are.
Obviously, the problem is you might not be able to find the color that you want, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm just thinking at that specific price point of right around $100, I think there's no reason not to go with a used rotor.
Right. Yeah, unless you want to buy new.
Yeah, unless you want to buy new, which is, buying new is always nice to buy yourself something new.
Like, in general, I think, like, when we're talking, unless we say the used market, I think that in general, if we're going to be comparing prices of something,
we're comparing brand new prices.
We're talking about brand new.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and then you have like the Halo 2 and the Halo Scion.
The Scion's discontinued.
Oh, right. So we get the Halo 2. I don't like them as much as the old Halo.
No, I like the old Halo. Even though it's basically the same thing, I'd rather take a Reloader B than a Halo 2.
Yeah, because the new, the Halo 2s, they don't have that tension on the drive cone.
Yep.
And that's where you got your rate of fire. That's where you got your dependability of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a fan of those. But then again, for the price, $75.
You're talking brand new in box price. There's not much else to look at.
Right. Yeah. So the VMAXs, they're just slow, cheap made, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
So we don't even carry those. So I wouldn't even ask us to carry it, to push it onto a person.
Nothing personal against Valken, but
right. Oh yeah, nothing personal.
I do not want. I will not carry the VMAX in our store here. I don't see the point of it. I think there's better loaders at the same price.
Yeah, because they came out expensive.
They did.
And then they dropped real quick when they realized
they weren't selling
this thing sucks.
Yeah.
Like they had such big hype on it, and then
I remember A&S bought a giant pile of them, and I think they still have almost all of them.
Oh yeah.
I think it was a good little discussion on loaders.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. You want to hit us up with the next question? I believe it's from Commander Suds.
Yep, Commander Suds. He said he'd like to see some guns, gear, and setup discussion between us. Compare everything we use and why, and then what paint you like to shoot, etc. And then go over the PSP rule changes. We already did the PSP rule changes.
We can go over the addendums that it's not really an addendum, it's more of like fine pointing some of the PSP rule changes that were recently posted up on PB Nation. We can certainly touch on that after. Do you want to start off with gun gear setup comparisons?
All right. Well, two things. If I'm going to be playing a tournament style, a practice kind of thing, a tournament, I'm going to be shooting my DM14. I got my carbon fiber boomstick. My Ninja 68, 45, Pro V1. I do not like the Pro V2 regs on them. I don't like any of the Ninja new regs with the ball bearing. For loader, I got my Spire 260. And I got a deuce trigger in it. That's going to be my gun setup. I use an old Proflex that's just been customized. Custom team jersey. Trying to think of who makes it. We got custom made.
You got Raza jerseys, didn't you?
No, I hate Raza. What is
the jerseys that you got through here before you started working here?
Yeah, we got them custom made. Flow pants. Who makes the flow pants?
Was it PB Rack?
PB Rack.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
PB Rack.
I didn't do the order. I remember you coming in like a long time ago, like last year before you worked here. I remember you coming in. I didn't know who you were at that point. I remember you working out the deal with Alex for getting your custom team jerseys and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, we were going to go with Raza, but PB Rack, we just talked to the people.
Yeah,
we liked them a lot.
I wasn't involved in that, transaction at all, so I had no idea. It sounds like PB Rack, though.
Yeah, it is definitely PB Rack. Awesome jersey, best jersey.
Yeah, no, I saw them and everything when they came in. They're fantastic.
Yeah, nice. I run an old Reds pack because I like the Reds pack.
It's awesome.
Most people don't even know, like, what's Reds?
Is it a Reds Comfort pack or is it a Reds International pack?
Reds Comfort.
Yeah, there you go.
And Velkin pants. I like them.
Yeah.
They make the big sizes. And then the HK Shredder cleats. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
I don't. If you play real lot, be prepared to buy one pair a year.
Oh,
they do fall apart.
Absolutely.
But I do like them because they're comfortable.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's.
This conversation feels a little bit awkward because this is basically all we talk about all the time when we're here. So it's like I've heard this a million times. But guns, gear, and setup discussion. So I guess
if I'm playing for fun, actually, my other setup will be my 98 autococker, and if I'm gonna go out and play for fun, it's got a Revolution on it. It's got a standard Ninja tank on it, 98 cocker, custom built, and that's just fun. Doesn't matter, speedball field,
going out and playing mech like that. Yeah, absolutely, that's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. So those are my two setups.
So, I guess I'm thinking I'll go through and list my two setups, and then we can just kind of go back and forth on why we like our certain things over what I like. Like, I like this. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. Okay. So basically, my main setup, and when I'm playing tourney ball, I'm still undecided about my gun right now. I'm sure you've seen in recent videos, leaning toward shooting my LV1 for next season. I still have a small ray of light shining on my Lux 2.0, whether I want to shoot that or the LV1. There is a heavy lean towards the LV1 for next season, though. Just like you, I have a deuce trigger in my Lux.
Yeah.
I will have a deuce trigger coming for my LV1 soon, just because I love that trigger so much. As far as everything else goes, I use V-Force grills, the special edition white with the pink on it. I don't think headwear really matters. Just a bunch of headwear and bandanas and such. We've got custom team jerseys. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't think we're getting the Foxball jerseys.
No.
Because he's not doing Foxball jerseys for our league specifically. So I'm not sure if we were getting them through Raza or PB Rack. I'm not quite sure. I'm not really in charge of that. But last year, our team jerseys were just long sleeve shirts with team name on the front and name and number on the back, which worked just fine as far as I'm concerned. I use all Clips pads just because they're my absolute personal favorite, and I think they're the best. All last year, I was wearing dye C11 pants. I like the older, slightly, not the super old, but like the mid, late 2000s dye pants. I think they're the most comfortable pants out there. They're not super rigid like the new ones are, like around the waist, and it kind of makes it look like you're wearing a canoe. The older dye pants aren't like that, and you can really crank down on the waistbands and stuff like that and make them fit how you want, and they're really soft and flexible, and they're not over padded. So definitely my favorite pants is like the late 2000s, early 2010s dye pants.
Yeah.
And as far as the cleats, I'm rocking the private label Eclipse edition of the Exalt cleats, which I absolutely love. The Exalt cleats, they're so comfortable. They're so comfortable, and I'm coming from growing up. I played 2 sports a season for as long as I can remember in my entire life. Many of them involved cleats of some kind, and these are probably some of the most comfortable cleats I've ever worn in my entire life, hands down. And they're durable as hell. They're like so well made. I'm absolutely in love with these cleats. On the gun. Yeah, forgot about the stuff that goes on the gun. Right now, I'm running a Ninja Superlight 68 with the Pro V2 rig, which, because of the 2 guns I'm using it on, I'm not having any problems with, and a standard Spire 200 loader. And I think that about covers it. If I went out and played rec ball, I haven't played rec ball in a long time, man. If I had to go play rec ball, I'd probably be wearing one of my old school random jerseys, whatever color I felt like wearing out of my closet that day.
Yep.
I'd be wearing my 05 JT teams in bright pink, the limited run.
Yeah, that's the big giant JT.
Oh yeah,
patch on the legs.
Absolutely. I'd be wearing my wicked old school, like 2001 JT half boot cleat things.
Oh yep.
Those things are sweet. I don't know, what would I'd probably rock I'd probably rock my brown Proflex IZEs for a mask, with some old do-rags, because you got to be period correct.
Yeah.
You know?
Got to keep your afro tight.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Stuff we wore.
Yeah. You got to do a neckerchief around the neck, too.
Yeah.
You know, it does absolutely nothing, but it's
Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah, there you go. With an old Diablo jersey. Yes. If my rec gun setup, I don't know what I would go shoot for a rec gun.
You got all your impulses and your shockers and stuff. I mean, there's got to be one of those that's close to your heart. Or he's going to shoot people with a Lux.
Or I could just go shoot people with my Lux, right? I think I have something. I have a new addition to my family.
Really?
My Tippmann SL68 2 that I bought for $5.
Only because you broke it. Yes.
The point is, it's working now.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely go shoot that because I don't have another pump gun.
Yeah.
Other than that, if I had to pick something, I'd probably pick one of my old big blocky impulses, so I can be period correct with everything. 2003, and it's blind, it has no eyes, and I'd probably put my Revy on it, just to be period correct, and I'd chop the hell out of a lot of paint, and it would be an awesome day. Yeah. And I've got to do a tank. I've got an old, big carbon fiber 68 3000, born in 2001. It's been hydro tested 3 times.
Jeez. You need
with a nitro duck.
I say you need a nitro duck.
With a nitro duck rag on it that's 2 inches long.
Yeah.
To be period correct. I'd have to put a big drop forward on there.
Yeah, cap drop zone 2, drop zone 2, maybe with a 114 cubic inch tank on it.
Oh yeah, with you got to get that 15-degree kicker on that drop.
Oh, now we're sounding old. Everybody's like, "What the hell are these guys talking about?"
Nobody has any idea what we're talking about. They're like, "What do you mean? The JT Impulse came out like 2 years, like last year."
Yeah, people are like, I want to know what they're shooting now, not what they were shooting in 2000.
Right. That would be what I would wear if I played rec ball, which I really don't anymore because I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
So, why do you go DM?
I've always liked the DM line.
I agree. I have 2 of them over there.
And it hasn't changed. So therefore...
It hasn't changed, so therefore I still like it.
No, I do like the ergonomics of the 14-15. I like to be able to tune it, so therefore I like that it has an LPR.
Okay.
I like the simpleness of the board. If it had a screen, it'd be cool. But I also like that it only has 4 features. If the board...
It only has 4 settings, yeah.
Yeah, and if the board only showed 4 features, I'd be okay. I don't need a billion different features on it.
Right.
But I think that they're quiet. They shoot real smooth. Plenty efficient for me. I don't need to shoot a case of paint off of one fill because I go out there for 3 minutes at a time, and then I get to fill my tank again.
Yep.
So that's why I shoot the DM. Just it's tunable, it's quiet, it's soft, it's reliable. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we already talked about loaders.
Yeah.
I don't think we really have to talk about our personal options on tanks. I feel like that's kind of a pointless conversation.
Just a quick thing on the tank is I shoot a 68 standard Ninja tank. If I was going to get a new tank, it'd be the SL 77, strictly because it holds more air and it's the same size as a standard 68 in general.
Yep.
So it's a little input on that.
Cool. And I don't think we really have to go into clothing or anything like that. That's not, no.
Barrels. I shoot the carbon fiber barrel. I think Dye makes the best barrel. The boomstick.
I agree that the carbon stick is the best barrel in paintball.
Yeah.
Hands down.
But you don't shoot one.
But I don't shoot one. Well, I do. I have one. I just don't shoot it on the 2 primary guns that I shoot.
Right. Well, one you can't because it's different threads.
On one of them.
Yeah.
2 because it doesn't match.
Right. Exactly.
Which is the biggest point to me.
Yeah. So. All right.
So. Let's flip that around. Why do I shoot what I shoot? I don't know. Why do I shoot what I shoot? It's an easier explanation with the Lux, for me anyway. I grew up, as soon as I got into electro guns, I was a smart parts guy, which is contrary to all of the world apparently. I am the only guy who likes smart parts guns. Everybody else very vocally hates smart parts, except for me.
When we played tournaments back in the day, when smart parts was big,
I shot an impulse.
Yeah, but whenever somebody had a gun problem, the call was, I have smart parts. And that lets the whole team know that your gun's not working. So you chop a ball, you scream,
always works.
I got smart parts, I got smart parts.
My gun always works.
Yeah, and Shewalk shockers were fun back then. Impulses, they were fun, but in general, they weren't as reliable as...
I always shot a blind impulse because I couldn't afford a vision impulse, so I didn't have any problems.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to mess up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I grew up as a smart parts guy. I shot impulses, and then I moved right into the SFT shocker. And after I got my first SFT shocker, I was always really going out there and getting. I always had like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 guns at any time. I did a lot of buy-sell trade, but I always had a shocker. As soon as I got my first shocker, I never looked back.
Yeah.
And please don't take that out of context, anyone on the internet. I know this is the internet, and I know what you people do.
Alex
Once I got my first Smart Parts SFT shocker paintball gun, I never looked back. I've always had at least one in my possession at any given time. I currently have 5. Shut up.
Yeah. Yep.
I fell in love with the gun. They're so smooth. They feel so good in my hands because of I'm a smaller guy, so the length of the gun and the size of the gun and how it felt in my hands was just perfect for me. I love the smoothness of those guns. A lot of people say they have a lot of kick. I really don't feel it.
No, I think they're a lot smoother than I remembered, because I did shoot one of yours at the end of the year, and I was surprised on how nice a shot compared to when they were brand spanking new and when my teammates got it.
I think when they were brand new, they had a little bit of kick for that bolt to really break in and get silky smooth. There was, I think, a good break-in period, but man, once that reg and that bolt broke in, man, those things were just butter.
Oh yeah.
The other thing I really loved about them is they're basically the Legos of paintball guns. There's so many. They're just take this part off, put this part on. You can do whatever you want to them. They're so customizable. I really love that about them. And ever since then, I had NXT shockers. So for me, modern day, the Lux is a no-brainer. It's just the next evolution of the shocker.
Yep.
It's even better than nothing beats the very first SFT shocker I had. Nothing beats that memory of that to me. Yeah. But man, the Lux 2.0 I have now is real close.
Yeah.
I had a lot of DMs and everything too, which I still have. I still have 2 DMs. But personally, nothing beats the SFT shocker. The other gun I'm shooting right now, the LV1, that's a bit of a swing move for me recently. I was traditionally never a pop-it guy. I did have an Ego SL66 for a while, which for anybody who doesn't know, because it is an older gun, it was basically just a private label Ego 6, just like you have like the SLS and the CSL now. That was the SL back then of the it was the Ego 6.
Yeah.
And after that, that's really the last pop-it that I had that I actually shot. I've owned other pop-it guns since then, but I haven't really played with them or anything like that. I've always shot spool valves traditionally. What changed my mind really was last year. I was so happy about Empire redoing the JT Impulse project, which I found out later was GOG and the Gardner brothers, basically Smart Parts, reinitializing the Impulse, which was that balanced valve, which if you ever shoot an 09 Impulse is amazing gun. I was so happy that they were doing that and like bringing back old Smart Parts.
Yeah.
Regardless of being a pop-it, I had to get it, and then I played all season with it, and turned out I really loved the way that gun shot. It changed my mind a little about my preconceived notions of why I did not like a pop-it gun. Kind of went away, and I like a pop-it gun for, at this point, there are a little itty-bitty things that I do like a pop-it gun for that you don't get in a spool valve gun. Like that feeling that something happens, you get a reaction, you get a movement with the bolt, or something about watching it happen and getting like that satisfaction of that the gun just fired. Like to me, there's just something about that.
Right.
And then going into the season, my team decided to predominantly shoot Planet Eclipse to try and go towards sponsorship things, which ended up not panning out. But we were going to try and stick with almost all Eclipse anyway, which, even if I shoot my Lux, it's not a big deal. Nobody's going to care. But, so realistically, I've never bought myself a super high-end gun brand new, ever, before. So I wanted to do it. I've been waiting a long time to do it. And I decided I love Eclipse. And I want an Eclipse gun. I've always liked the LV1s.
Yeah.
I've never really hardcore played with one. I've shot them. There's no substitute for going out and playing with one. So I figured, what the hell? I just don't like Geos for whatever reason. You guys have heard that 8 billion times. So I decided to go with the LV1. Came right out at the right time where they released those limited edition splashes, and it's like my favorite color combo that I can think of that I want. So I just kind of pulled the trigger, and then I played that event with it, and it kind of swayed my mind a little bit, and now I really love it. So yeah, I did do a complete 180, and now all of a sudden I love pop-its too. So deal with it, internet. Yeah. Deal with it. But I do love my Lux as well.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it for that question, right? He did want us to touch on the
PSP changes.
The PSP changes. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring up that webpage so we can take a look at that real quick and talk about the recent updates to the PSP rule changes release.
Yep.
All right, so bringing up that webpage with the new conversation between John from PB Nation, I believe it's actually John asking these questions, and Tom Cole from the PSP. This is has since happened after the announcement of the new rule changes, and basically I think what John was trying to do here was trying to get some definition and some refinement on some of the rule changes, because...
And a quick recap on the rule changes were Pro is now semi-automatic.
Yep. The rest of
the divisional is all PSP 10.2.
10.2.
No coaching at all for the pros.
Yep.
Divisionals to allow it.
Yep.
And what was the third one?
The layout.
The layout, yeah. So the pros, the pros get like a 20-hour window of the layout that they get to play for that event.
Yep.
So that was just a real quick recap.
Yep. So with that note, Tom K. I think what John was trying to do here was get some definition and some clarity on the rule changes, because I do believe in the was that the PSP originally put out, it was vague.
Oh yeah.
In a lot of areas, there was a lot to be desired with that statement, I think.
I don't think the PSP even really knows.
I don't either. Everything. Which, let's just in the interest of time, let's just go ahead and kind of delve into it. John says, we've seen the new rules, but we'd like some clarification on one rule before we even start. Will the pros be playing at a capped rate of fire, or will it be uncapped because they are playing semi-auto?
Yeah.
Tom Cole says, we have not capped the rate of fire as of now. And I am going to read Tom Cole's response, the PSP's response. I will read these verbatim, just for any clarification on that. We have not capped the rate of fire as of now. So right now, the pros are playing uncapped semi, which is NPPL.
Right.
That's what it is.
Uncapped PSP would be fun too.
But at the end, he ends that sentence with "as of now," which means it's still in his head that they might cap semi-auto.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with.
I don't think there's any reason to.
I don't think there's
it's going to be semi.
I don't think there's any reason to either. I think because what they were striving for was the individual skill of the player. I don't understand why you would put a cap on semi-automatic fire.
So therefore, you're capping the player's skill.
Right.
So.
Okay. So the next question that took place, that sounds like it could change, but thanks for clearing that up. We should start by saying we don't actually know why there are new rules. What is the PSP trying to accomplish through these rule changes with the pros? Tom Cole's response. We are trying to showcase the skill of the pro paintball player. A player that has made it into the pro ranks should be able to shoot on the run and left-handed without an enhanced trigger. So that is his verbatim response. Obviously, by enhanced trigger, we know he means the PSP rate of fire.
Not the actual trigger.
Not the actual trigger itself.
Yeah.
Saying that, I absolutely agree with his response 100%. I have no arguments with it.
Okay. I do want to see the best players out there. I do like the whole PSP mode for them, just because you get that consistency of the shooting. Therefore, you shoot more people.
Yep.
Like I do definitely go both ways on that, because I can see both arguments.
Yeah.
But
let's not get too deep. If anybody's curious, 2 roundtables ago, from this going up, there is a roundtable entitled the Paintball Roundtable, the PSP. I should have titled that PSP Rule Changes. I apologize. I'll go back and fix that. That should be already fixed by the time this Paintball Roundtable goes up. But that is an entire hour-and-a-half Paintball Roundtable where it's just us sitting down and talking about these paintball rule changes in the PSP. So if you're curious on our full in-depth response on those rule changes, I would highly encourage you to go back and watch that. That's not something I want to get into with this video. I just want to do the Q&A and move on. So with that, next question. How long were these changes discussed and who came up with the idea? Tom Cole's response, I think we have been discussing this topic since electronic markers first came out. Every year the PSP looks at what we think is the best for the players and the sport of paintball. We think the game will be more fun to play and watch. I think that's a very PR, public relation person's response to not say anything negative about it.
Right.
In any sort of light. That's my thought on it.
Yeah, that's pretty much just like, the opening of that.
That's basically like, yes, we did this on purpose. Next question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever, buddy.
Next question. Was anyone worried about the similarities similarity to the old NPPL rules. For anybody that doesn't know, the NPPL that used to be back in the day, the predominant Pro Series, was a semi-auto uncapped series.
Yeah, and PSP basically put them under because PSP was more fun to play.
Yep. Tom Cole's response: the NPPL does not really come up in PSP meetings. I call absolute bullshit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. There is no reason why there's no.
Yeah, it has to come up.
It has to come up because that's the only thing they can relate to because they're the only big pro circuit left.
Right.
There's no way the NPPL never comes up in PSP meetings. And he doesn't say never, he says not really, but I call it absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
Next question, were any of these changes play tested? And if so, by what teams? No answer from Tom Cole there.
So, does he just pretend that he didn't hear the question?
I don't know if he's pretending that he didn't hear the question, or to me it's, yes, they did play test him, and the response was maybe bad, so he doesn't want to say anything, or they didn't play test him and they have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's just weird that it's no answer.
He should at least say something.
No comment would have been better than no answer.
Yeah. No comment, or I will, I'm not going to confirm or deny that we have had. Just not saying anything, I think is worse than saying no comment.
Yeah.
Way worse.
I mean, it's a weird conversation.
That sounds like he has no idea.
Yeah, let's do that in real life right now. How are you today? All right, that's real awkward. Like, is that what happened?
Right? Next question. How do you plan to enforce, quote, no coaching? Tom Cole's response. There wasn't any. It says here, the PSP declined to answer any of the coaching questions at this time, but we had to try. So that's John from PB Nation typing that.
Yeah.
To me, that just says the PSP has no idea.
Yeah. Basically what I think they're going to do is if someone's coaching, then they're going to ask them to leave. Simple as that.
That's the only thing they can. What else are they going to do?
Because you have to pay for a ticket to go into the grandstands.
Yeah.
You're not just a general walking by. It's be, hey, give me a wristband, you're out.
The fact that they decline to answer any of the coaching questions, again, just screams to me.
They don't know what they're doing.
They just have no idea what they're going to do. They really don't. I don't know why. There's only one thing you can do. It seems really simple. You could have at least said something to the effect of, there'll be a one warning citation, and then we'll ask them to leave the grandstands. If so, they'll have to purchase their grandstand ticket again if they want to get back in.
Yeah, unless they're also talking about, does the team get penalized?
Right, yeah, which is, a totally different thing. But moving on.
Yeah.
There's two more questions about the coaching and stuff like that have absolutely no answer because the PSP declined to answer any of them. So the next question with an answer, is there a team penalty too? Tom Cole's response. The changes to the coaching rules are a work in progress, so I don't have specific answers to those questions yet. To me, that says, again, they have no idea, but I'm glad he actually said something about it.
Oh, yeah.
It at least sounds like they're thinking about it.
Right.
Whereas before, it sounds like, oh shit, we didn't think about that. Next question. How do you intend to enforce semi-auto? Good question. Tom Cole's response. We will employ several extreme high-speed cameras that we can watch as the game is played and track that players are shooting semi-automatic.
What?
What?
It just makes no sense. You had somebody who's going to be filming. And these cameras, they're not cheap. A high-speed camera.
No, high-speed camera's enough.
And so now they're going to be filming it, or they're going to be watching it live time, and somebody needs to count each time someone pulls the trigger versus the ball that comes out of the front of the barrel.
I'm legitimately more excited about watching how bad the PSP is going to jack up this first tournament trying to officiate it than watching the tournament.
Yeah, it's going
to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, they're going to spend all this money on cameras, and they're going to be like, this is dumb.
This is dumb. Why
these cameras are now on eBay for sale.
Next question. How do you plan to punish players caught with guns not shooting semi-auto? Tom Cole's response. We are currently working on penalties to be added to the 2015 rulebook. I got no problem with that answer. That makes perfect sense. There's no reason why they should be done working on the penalty addendums to the rule book. That only makes sense because that's a long and complicated process to make proper penalties and then word them properly and all that junk.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. They're working on them. Cool.
Yeah.
Will there also be a team penalty that extends further? Response. If we feel that a team is trying to beat the system, we can issue them a penalty. Again, that just ties into they're working on the penalties. It's a work in progress. The penalties at this point, I have no problem with the penalties being a work in progress.
Yeah.
No problem. I like that response. Will you be able to test fast enough to penalize during the game, or will it be a punitive penalty, which means they'll be penalized after the game?
Yeah.
In response to what happened during that game. The response, we will be able to test the rate of fire while the players are playing. That's a very profound, confident statement, it sounds like there. Obviously, I can't hear his tone of voice, but that is a statement. It sounds very profound that he's confident that they're going to be able to test
their rate of fire, not if they're in semi-automatic.
I don't know if he misspoke there and meant semi-auto while they're playing, make sure they're in semi-auto while they're playing, or if he actually meant rate of fire. If he did actually mean rate of fire, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. Which means they have to be capped.
Which means
they have to be
capped, which he said they're not currently capped. So I don't know if he just misspoke or what have you, but man, this is just shaping up to be an awesome first tournament.
Yeah.
Next question, how about if the board is deemed factory? Is there a penalty for the manufacturer? Tom Cole's response, we are currently working on working with the manufacturers to create a workable program. That, I understand why he doesn't have an answer for that. Obviously, that is a massive endeavor to try and make a program like that. So I totally get why he doesn't have a good response for that yet, because obviously I guarantee they're going to be working on it for a long time.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a weird question. Like, is there going to be a penalty for the manufacturer?
Right.
So basically, if Dye makes special boards for their teams
so
that they look like they're the semi, but they're not, then that means the PSP would have to go to Dye and say, we're going to punish you. We're going to drop all of your ads or so.
Yeah,
that's going to hurt PSP so much more than it's
we're going to drop Dye ads today on the PB Access webcast because a capacitor on the circuit board that was manufactured by a machine halfway across the planet short-circuited.
Yeah, well, no, they're saying if a company is purposely making a board look like it's stock, but it's going to have added features kind of thing. That's why I kind of got out of it.
I don't know. That's still a very vague question and answer, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm just saying about like.
Yeah.
Can you punish a company?
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No Dye teams are allowed to play. Yeah,
that's gonna.
But it's gonna hurt PSP more than the company.
There's no way they can kick out Valken and deal with not having Valken paint. There's no way they can kick out a company like Dye or Planet Eclipse.
Yeah.
No way.
Exactly. No, they're not rich enough.
No, they're not. Absolutely not. I don't know how they're going to afford the high-speed cameras.
Yeah.
Next question. Is the intention to filter any of these pro changes down to the lower divisions? His answer, not at this time. But I agree with that. I think
8 months from now.
8 months from now could be totally different.
Exactly.
But I agree with let the lower divisions, don't change up the lower divisions. Let it stay.
Yeah.
Next question. And does anyone at the PSP have data on how much paint was shot at PSP events in 2009 when the divisional players shot 10 balls per second? Was it more or less? Tom Cole's response, we don't have any real paint use data from back in 2009. I mean...
They might not, but they can easily pick up the phone, I'm sure.
Somebody does.
Yeah.
You know, how much paint you sold to the PSP in 2009 to me seems like a big statistic to just throw away in the garbage.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because companies need to have tax information going back 5-7 years.
I would highly doubt that nobody has a record of how much paint they sold at PSP events in 2009. Especially, this is not like we're not talking about like 2002.
Right.
We're talking about 2009.
Yeah, and I'm sure the PSP as a company has no idea how much paint was shot. But I also
because they're not
they're
not regulating how many cases of paint Key gives out of the back of their semi to their teams.
Right, exactly.
That's none of
so they probably have no idea. And if this question was put on the spot, then he could say, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm sure he could make a couple phone calls and find out.
Absolutely. Next question. If not, what's the thinking behind teams at the highest level of playing a different game than the rest of the league? So basically that just means, why, what is the PSP thinking making the pros play a totally different game than the rest of the division? Tom Cole's response, I think that has always been the case. It is true not just in paintball, but in most sports. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's true in most sports. What does that have anything to do with our sport?
Right.
That literally, so what? So what if that's the way hockey works, or baseball works, or football works?
Yeah.
This is not hockey, baseball, and football. This is paintball. It's not the same thing. It's a different sport. Nothing says it needs to be different.
Right.
There's nothing. He's not backing up any kind of. The only thing he says is, I think that has always been the case.
Right.
I don't think it's always been the case. Look back at the MP. How much different was the pro division in the NPPL than Division 1? Like back in the day, was it that much different?
I don't think so.
Was it a totally different game?
No. Right now it's a total different game.
I think
semi-verse.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't get his answer. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I think it sounds like he's just avoiding the question.
Yeah.
Which to me makes no sense because
I was like half his question. Half of his answers are him avoiding the questions.
Yeah, but specifically on that question, it doesn't make any sense because there's no reason to avoid the question because it doesn't have any real effect on anything.
Right.
Nobody's going to get pissed off if he says, we want it to be a different game because we think the pros should play a different game because they're better skilled people. At least that's an answer.
Right.
Like, what does that have any effect on anything? It
right.
It doesn't matter. Say something. Say your honest opinion.
Yep.
Next question. Won't that make the jump to pro even harder? Tom Cole's response, not sure, ask Johnny Football. For anybody who doesn't understand that reference, he's talking about Johnny Manziel, who recently had his first start of his NFL career on the Cleveland Browns. They lost 30-0. He got absolutely destroyed that game. I think he got sacked 4 or 5 times. He threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. It was absolutely fantastic. I personally don't like Johnny Manziel. I think he's a little bit of a showboating little bastard. But that's just me. And I think, I think he needed to get some sense knocked into him. That's the dumbest response of this entire conversation I've ever heard. That has nothing to do with anything. Answer the question. Talk about something about paintball. If you don't want to answer the question, just say, I have no comment about that right now.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's like, it should have been like, oh, not sure, ask Johnny Football, ha ha ha. All right, now here's my answer.
Yeah. Now he's just like going outside of his way, beyond going out of his way. He's going outside beyond going outside of his way to avoid the question. It's just stupid. Just answer the question.
Yeah.
There's no consequence, really, to that kind of question. And then the last question in this really has no bearing on absolutely anything, so we're just gonna skip that one. So basically, that is our input onto the PSP rule changes for this episode of the Paintball Roundtable. Again, go back and watch the other one where we totally talk about the PSP rule changes. That's it. That's all I gotta say. We're gonna move on because this video is already getting nice and lengthy.
One more part the guy wanted to know what kind of paint we like.
My favorite paint of all time or currently?
I'm guessing right now.
Right now?
What paint you like to shoot?
GI.
So right now.
GI.
GI. Yeah, I'm gonna say GI in general is my favorite. Like GI 5-star.
Yep.
I like it. But a good case of Ultra Evil.
A good case of Ultra Evil.
It's so tough because when you're shooting the best of the best, they're shooting awesome, and it's hard to nitpick because both of them shoot really good.
It's hard to tell the difference.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. But I do know, like last year, I got some GI 5-star. It was the greatest paint I ever shot. And then this year, I got some Ultra Evil, and I got some 5-star, and the Ultra Evil shot better. but the 5-star that I got this year wasn't as good as the 5-star I got last year.
Right. It's all relative.
Yeah. Once you're up to the GI 5-star and the Ultra Evil, they're gonna be
same. Right now, my personal favorite is GI 5-star. Best paint of all time to me, Draxus Gold.
Really?
Absolutely, hands down, nothing's better than Draxus Gold.
Yeah, I know. El Tigra back in the day was.
Oh God.
5-star or All-Star.
All-Star was awesome. They still have All-Star.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm sure it's the same ball, but
All-Star back in the day was so brittle.
Yeah, and it was so awesome.
All-Star back in the day was more brittle than Ultra Evil.
Yeah, and then Marbleizer back in the day was
better than Marbleizer is today, hands down.
Right, and
paint was better back in the day. That's the point we're getting across here.
Yeah. So, but then again, good paint now is better than old paint then, as in Ultra Evil and 5-star. I don't think they had paint that good back then, in my opinion. But I know that like the Marbleizer and the All-Stars were so much better than the Marbleizer and the 5-star that is today.
Now you're just being confusing.
I am wicked confusing. Maybe we'll edit that out.
Great American Paintballs, best paintball ever. End of argument. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. I'll go ahead and read this one off. This question comes from 207 Scarab. In the Supergun show, you were adamant that due to your build and stature that you could or would never shoot an LV1. What has changed? Seems like you took a 180 and compromised to shoot an LV. I am just curious on your thought process and what went in your decision. So you heard, I'm sure, I kind of already touched on this a little earlier in the roundtable. I absolutely did do a 180, and I think more or less I did a 180 in how much I like poppet guns. I think I more than anything compromised. Personally, it was really down to my team really wanted to shoot Planet Eclipse, and they were really adamant about it. And I'm just here to play. I'm not running the team or anything. So I'm not going to complain about having to pick from an LV. They're both great guns, an LV1 and a Geo 3.5. I'm not going to complain about that. They're both super guns and they both shoot great.
Yeah.
The problem is the LV1. I still think is a tad bit bigger. I am certainly making a compromise by shooting an LV1. I'd much rather be hands down shooting my Lux, and I still might shoot my Lux. I don't know yet. But the LV1 with the Superlight 68 is definitely at the very, that is really my super limits of how big my gun setup can be, and that goes hand in hand with why I'm shooting the Spire, because I put the rotor on it, and it was too big. It was too heavy. It was too big for me. I had to go with the Spire at least to give me something. My Gorilla stubby tank went out of hydro. I decided to be lazy and just buy a new tank. So I went to the Superlight 68, which is not too much bigger. So that wasn't too bad. Shooting the LV1 is definitely at my personal limits for how it feels in my hands as a big setup. I think, like I said, more than anything, I'm compromising to shoot the LV1 because I don't like the way Geo shoot that much. I'm sorry.
And you also need to retrain your body, too, on certain things.
Yeah.
You might be like, this feels wrong initially.
It feels wrong because I've been shooting SFT shockers my entire life.
Yeah, everything's all bunched up real close.
Right. So, yes, 207. I did take a 180. I did not like the LV1 before. I loved the LV1 before. I thought it was an amazing gun. I thought it was just a hair too big for me. I still think it is, but I'm compromising, is basically my answer to that. So I'm sorry if that was not as detailed as you wanted. That's really my only thought process that went into it.
What really happened is Planet Eclipse gave him a free gun because all he does is talk about how awesome they are.
I'm taking Tom Cole's stance and not saying anything.
No, he doesn't get anything free.
I absolutely do not get anything for free. You want to hit up the next question?
Is this with James? Grant?
Doesn't matter. Pick one.
All right, well, because you went out of order. So
it's in order for me on my webpage because you're on an iPad and I'm on a computer.
Yeah. All right, I'll go with Grant. It says, what gun do you He's got a bunch of questions, so I'm going to do them one at a time.
Okay.
What gun do you prefer more? As you've said, you get back into poppets from the ones you have shot, the Impulse or the LV1?
Give opinions disregarding price point and opinions factoring in price point. That's a good question.
Yep.
I'm getting back into poppets. The Impulse or the LV1, disregarding price point. Disregarding price point.
As in they're the same exact value to you, or same price to you. Someone said 500 for this or 500 for that.
I think the LV1 is just a superior gun.
Yeah, I agree.
Disregarding price, I think the LV1 is just a superior gun. I have no doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. The ASA is better. The trigger feels better. I like the air system better. I like the parts, and because I'm a tech, I'm picky about like how guns come apart and all that kind of stuff. I think the LV1 is built better. I think it's better quality. I like where it comes from with Planet Eclipse as a company better. I just think it's a superior gun. I think it feels fantastic in my hands. I think it's a better quality, made with better parts, made in a better way, shoots, to me, that shot quality is better.
Yeah.
That lever valve and that smoothness is just hard to beat for a poppet gun. LV1 hands down.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you when it comes down to no price comparison.
No price comparison.
Yeah.
I think LV1 hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. But then if you get to talk about price,
factoring in the price point between the Impulse, and we'll take the current price of the Impulse.
500?
No. It's the map is technically discontinued, so there is technically no price.
Yeah.
Most of them you're going to see for sale brand new are pretty much only on A&S gear now, and they're selling them for $500.
Yeah.
Whereas the LV1 is still $1,350. For mine, 15 something because I got a super nice splash.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's just even take 2 weeks ago before map was discontinued. Impulse, $600. Impulse hands down.
Absolutely, because they have an excellent regulator, basically same regulator that comes on the Luxes.
Yep.
Awesome clamping feed neck. Their trigger is just like the Lux trigger, the way it gets adjusted.
The only thing I can really say bad about the Impulse is it's loud as hell.
Yeah, it is loud. Yeah, it's loud. Basically, that's what you can.
For what it is at the price, even take the $850 price point after the first price drop.
Yeah.
Hands down, Impulse still.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No question in my mind, the Impulse. The Impulse is that good of a gun. Don't get me wrong. I think the LV1 is a superior gun in every way.
Yeah, better gun, but when it comes down to the value.
But when it comes down to it, if you're factoring in the price point, even at the $850 price point, yeah. I have no problem taking the Impulse all day.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're saving at that $850, that's that $150 plus, standard LV1 plus the $350, so you're saving $500.
Yeah. I don't think the LV1 is $500 better than...
I don't think the LV1 is $500 better either. I think it is absolutely a better, superior gun. I don't think it's $500 superior, though.
Right, exactly.
The original price point for the Impulse, $1,050. That's hard.
Close.
That's real close. I'd probably still take the LV1, I'd probably still say I totally messed that up. I'd still take the Impulse at $1,050. Yeah. I don't think the LV1 has $300 over the Impulse.
Right.
I think it has, and that's a real fine line. If the Impulse was $1,050, or not $1,050, if the Impulse was $1,150, so it was only a $200 difference,
I'd spend the extra.
I'd probably just buck up, spend the extra $200 and get the LV1.
Yeah.
At the original price of $1,050, which is what I bought my Impulse at, because I bought them right when they came out.
Yep.
I still say I'd buy the Impulse at $1,050 and save $300.
Right.
But I wouldn't save $200. It's a very fine line. I think that's my border right there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I pretty much agree. I think that the Impulse is an awesome gun, especially for the price. But I would say around $3. I would spend an extra $3 to get a brand new LV1, but I wouldn't.
So you're just another $100 over me.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend $350 more.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, for me, I wouldn't spend the extra $3.
Well, actually, I kind of reword it because I will spend $1,500 on the gun. So, but it's also
me too.
But
if I had to choose between the two, factoring in price, I don't think I'd spend the extra $300 to get an LV1. I really, honestly don't.
Yeah.
If it was only an extra $200, I think I would.
Yeah. But when they were selling at $600 or $850.
Oh, and no questions asked. There's not even a choice in there.
Yeah, I know we had customers coming in and like looking for guns, and I did not feel bad saying, "Get this Impulse."
I didn't feel bad about telling people to get the Impulse at $1050.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I started working here, I think it was already dropped in price.
I think it had already dropped to $850 when you started.
Yeah, but it's such a bang for your buck.
Oh, it absolutely was. That gun, I think, the way the paintball market was when it first came out, I can see why I had a lot of trouble at $1050.
Yeah.
Even though I know I would have no problem paying that. I think $850 was the perfect price point for that gun.
I agree. I think it should have stayed at $850.
It was like $799 or was it $850? I don't remember. It might have been $799. I don't remember. $850, whatever it was, $8 or $850. I think was the absolute perfect price point for that gun.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. I don't think it should have been lower. I don't think it should have been higher. I think perfect right there.
Yeah, and that $600 basically that's just a fire sale. Mm-hmm. They never planned on when they hit the $600 mark. They never were like, "This is gonna be our new price." Basically, they're saying we need to just get rid of these.
They knew a week after they dropped it. I guarantee. Granted, they should have waited longer to see how sales panned out, but I guarantee 2 weeks after they dropped it to $800, they decided to drop it to $600 and get rid of it.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it's
a loss.
Yeah,
I think it's a loss for paintball. I really do.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. I liked mine so much that I will at some point go buy another one.
Yeah,
because I want to have one again. I liked it that much.
Yeah, they were great. Especially, I don't know what they're going for used, probably $300 or so.
Yeah, I think they're still going for $300-400 used, right around there. So the next part of his question.
What do you think the best loader is? We talked about it. The best loader is rotor. Favorite is Aspire.
Yep.
What do you think is the best new marker is for its price?
Speedball wise,
yeah. For the price, right now, I don't think you can even argue, is the DM14.
For the brand new price? Yeah, yep. $799, $800.
$800. I think that's the best price.
I agree. That is a very specific situation that has come up recently, though.
Yeah. So if we're going to talk about current...
Factoring out that the DM14 just got fire sale down to $800, if we're talking about normal pricing, because right now, I'd say we're looking at it like the current model DM out is the DM15.
Yeah.
The only reason DM14s there's a bunch of them brand new for $800 is because not a lot of people bought them and there's still a lot left over and they're trying to get rid of them. So let's just assume the current model DM is out. It's $1,500. So let's look at the gun wall again. What would you choose?
Oh, geez. Best
for the price, brand new, for Speedball.
What do I think is the best new marker for the price? We should have thought about this before we started recording.
I like doing this off the cusp because I think it's a better response. I think it's a more real response.
All right.
That's just my opinion, by the way. Don't flame the internet.
Yeah. And my answer might be a little bit controversial. I think the Axe is going to be the best value for the price.
It doesn't say value. It just says best new marker for the price.
All right. So Axe Pro for the price. That gun shoots super smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And it can keep up with every other high-end gun. And it's going to feel just as nice as a $600 gun.
$7.
$700 gun.
Does the fact that it's $100 more in the last 10 seconds change it?
No, but it's still, so much cheaper than every other high-end gun that when you start talking about the value, again, it's kind of like that whole impulse.
Best new marker for the price speedball-wise, you're going with Axe Pro, new Axe Pro.
New Axe Pro.
At $700.
For the price. The best new marker for the price.
Yes.
You agree with me? Or yes, that's...
No, yes, that is the question.
Yeah, so best new marker for the price, I'm going to say would be the Axe Pro, strictly because it's $800 difference between that and basically the next gun up.
Realistically, yeah.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, best new marker for its price will be Axe Pro. I won't shoot it because I don't like the trigger guard, and I'm not an axe guy in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when it comes to the value, that's there. Say next level is $800 for a high-end speedball gun.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are you thinking?
I'm thinking right off the bat, a lot of people are going to yell at us and be like, well, you can get a Bob Long G6R for like $1,000 and blah, 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 and an Inside NG and Bob Long this and MacDev that.
Yeah.
Personally, I wouldn't shoot Bob Long or MacDev for speedball.
I do like the older VX clones.
I do love
them.
I do like the old VX clones. Big problem with MacDev, getting them taken care of is a pain. It is.
Is it?
Like they've been working on it, and it's a lot better than it used to be. I think it still is.
I don't think they're too horrible.
It's not terrible, certainly not.
Yeah, but I'm a tech, so it's also like if I had to do a little bit more work
comparatively to everybody else, I think it's a problem still.
Yeah.
And I just straight up, if playing professional speedball, playing professional tournament paintball, I would not shoot a Bob Long marker. I do not hate Bob Long markers. Don't take that and pull it out all. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but you're going to put it everywhere on the internet, and you're going to tell everybody, Alex from PI Paintball hates Bob Long. No, I do not hate Bob Long. I actually still have a bunch of Intimidators at my house.
Yeah.
I like them. I would not shoot one playing professional tournament paintball, however.
He's... I don't know.
And you're going to agree with me for the exact same reasons.
Because you can't get his O-rings anywhere.
Yes, there we go.
Getting parts is a real pain because they're not standard size O-rings. That's going to be one of my issues with them. I do love Bob Long guns. I had G6R.
They shoot great.
Had a lot of issues with it.
When they work.
Yeah, had a lot of issues. Had a Victory.
Yep.
Had a lot of issues with it. So,
this is opinions, guys.
Yeah,
opinions
and life lessons of never own a Bob Long gun. No, that's a joke. Because I did shoot a VCOM out of the box, and I absolutely loved it. I think the VCOM shoots amazing.
Every time I've shot a brand new in-box G6R, shot great.
Yeah.
And
guns are supposed to shoot better, though.
One day the frame had to come off or something, gun was never the same.
Yeah. And I have tech friends who have Insights, and they hate them because they just cannot get them to work right.
Yeah.
They're super picky guns. I think Bob, he tries making too perfect of a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Where if any tolerances are off a little bit or any conditions are off,
it's kind of like Pootie.
Yeah.
It's too good.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyway, going back to the question. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I agree with the Axe Pro at $700.
Yeah. Now, if you want to kind of change that question and say, would you spend over $1,000 on a different gun, or would you spend $800 more for a better gun? Then absolutely yes.
Yes.
I would spend.
Because I don't like. I like the Axe for what it is.
Yeah.
It shoots great. I don't like personally shooting axes. I don't like the way they shoot. I don't like the way they feel. That's it. That is my personal opinion.
Yeah. I'm not an axe hater at all. They're fast shooting guns.
I don't hate them. I just don't like the way they... To me, I don't like the way they shoot and feel.
Yeah. So I guess if you're going to take the whole... let's get rid of the Axe Pro, and let's just say $1,000 plus for...
$1,000 plus, so pick a super gun?
Yeah. Best bang for the buck. Oh, what's the Lux OLED going for?
15.
15. Ugh.
You got 15 for the Lux OLED.
What with non-OLED?
Lux 2.0s you can actually still buy brand new from DLX for $12.50.
Right there.
I agree.
$12.50 for the standard 2.0 Lux.
Yep. Beats a Geo 3.5 at $14.50. Beats the LV1 at $13.50. Beats the DM15 at $15. Beats the Lux OLED at $15. Beats the... What's the Cyborg 6 is out at like $15.
Yeah.
I don't even... I think GTI's brand new are like $12.5, I think, maybe, right around there. Maybe $13.
All right. I thought
Right
they're
around-
a little bit more, but
Right around there. I don't remember. They might be 14. I don't remember. No, I agree. Lux 2.0.
yeah.
Personal opinion, guys.
Yeah, personal opinion.
You guys asked, we're answering. Last question from YouTube user James Will Shock You. I'm not shocked because I did ask for you guys to give me questions, and this is a question. So I asked for this, so I'm not really too shocked.
What do you think the odds are you still listening to this?
Absolutely
Close
zero.
to 2 hours.
Absolutely zero. I think it's a great idea. Do you think the next Planet Eclipse gun will be a CSL version of the LV1? And what do you think will be the next update for the Geo? He says, what would be the next update for the Geo 4? I assume he just means what would be the next update and what would make what we think would be the Geo 4.
Yeah. That's the last part.
The last
question.
part's
We'll do that first because I think it's quick. I think he wants to know
what's the next update to the Geo and what's the next update to the Lux. Is the last part of that question.
No, I thought he was asking like someone wants to trade him, wants to know if it's a good deal. Kind of like if all it says is Geo 3.5 for Lux OLED. Almost sounds like he's asking an opinion if it's worth a trade or some.
If I'm interpreting, if we're interpreting that as would I trade a 3.5 for a Lux OLED? Me? Yes. You?
No.
Good talk.
Well, I'm just saying the OLEDs, I think they're selling used for around 8. The 3.5s are still selling.
I'm planning on shooting the damn thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Geo 3.5 for Lux OLED. I think he's talking about trading.
Oh, well then you can do it, because...
If he owns a 3.5, should he trade it for OLED?
I would.
The value...
I'd ask for the Lux OLED plus cash.
Oh, absolutely, plus cash. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I would do it. Personally, I like the Lux as a paintball marker way better than the Geo.
Yes, I agree, 100%.
Okay.
All right, I thought he was talking about trading equally.
And then basically the whole beginning part of that question is, what do you think will be the next Ego and what will be the next Geo? Is basically what that comes down to.
Yeah, the CSL. I do like this whole idea because for everybody who knows, all the SL series, basically it's got new technology.
It's basically a mass-produced, commercialized prototype of the next year of Ego.
Yeah. So...
what do I think will be the next LV1? Will be incorporated into the next LV1? One, I think they should absolutely call it, because they've always called it the SL series of whatever. They absolutely need to call it the SLV1.
Yep.
Which is hands down what they need to call it. You can put that on the books.
Yeah.
God, what would the SLV1 have? I have no idea. I'm sure they do something with the bolt and the rammer like they always do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like now that the lever valve's been out for a while, they're going to find some way to make it out of either a better material, or like shape it a little differently, or work out, make it function better. I think the lever valve obviously will still be there. I don't think it'll be a totally different system. I think it's either going to be shaped differently, one, or two, made out of a different material so it works better or lasts longer or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe try and diet mill the body a little bit and shorten up the overall length of the gun. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I guess the rammer could be shorter.
They
technically,
if you
they
made
could
it shorter,
lower the pressure of the valve, then they can make the rammer lighter, therefore it could be shorter. But not even like it really hangs off the back of your hand too much. I mean,
well, if you made it shorter, you'd have to make the rammer heavier.
Right.
Because it's shorter, so there's going to be it depends on where you... if you have to compensate for losing that weight by making the rammer shorter, so you're going to have to make it slightly... You're going to have to make it, if the pressures are the same weight as it was when it was longer. So if you cut pieces off, you're going to have to add weight somewhere, either make it fatter or...
On a standard poppet, yes. We're working with a lever now.
I guess you could add... It would depend on...
That pivot point.
It would depend on if they can alter the pivot point to allow for better flow or to open easier.
Yep.
Or, to function in an easier, more efficient way. Or they can find a way to lower the operating pressure so it's more on the side of a balanced valve.
Yeah. So that's some things you can see kind of internally. And also if it was an SL series, it would come with
a barrel
kit.
It's going to come with a barrel kit. It's going to have a sweet mill job.
Different triggers.
It's
probably come with a badge for PB Nation. People want to trade those or keychains.
It'll come with a keychain that people will proceed to sell for hundreds of dollars for zero of the reasons.
Yeah.
It'll probably come with colored grips instead of standard black.
Yeah.
It'll probably have a serial number somewhere on the gun, like a little, like the GSLs did or something like that. I'm sure they'll do that somewhere.
Maybe something with the feed neck. I mean, the feed necks haven't really changed in years.
I don't see the reason to change.
Oh, there's
nothing wrong with them.
Right, nothing wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they're not going to change them.
Well, yeah, no, there's certainly. I'm not going to tell them not to innovate.
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like that's something they're probably haven't been looking at in a little while.
Right.
I think they're just going to do a sweet diet mill job, make it light as hell. Maybe find some way to not change the internals, but maybe shorten up the body just a hair.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Maybe you can just take one coil off that front poppet spring, but make the spring slightly stiffer.
Right.
That could do it.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because it pretty much reached
its pinnacle.
Yeah.
It's hard to...
But we're saying that now. Maybe the lever valve, the LV2 will come out, and it'll be like, oh, we did this, this, and that, and you'll be like, I couldn't even imagine it being better, but now look at it.
Right, exactly.
And that's what they pay their...
Well, I think we're at the point in paintball where, I think 5-6 years ago, when we're looking at, DM8, Ego 8.
Yeah.
I think we could sit here and have the same conversation and realistically figure out what's in Ego 9 and DM9 without them being out yet.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do that today.
No, I mean, they could change your solenoid or something like that. So
I'm sure they'll make the electronics better and the pneumatics better.
Yeah, Jack made it clear that he'll never do OLED on the super high ends because they are cheap. So he's going to stick with the LCD screen.
Yeah. All right, so what about next Geo?
It's so tough because, the Geo 3, 3.1, 3.5 all came out, basically.
I think they really... hit it on the head with the Geo 3.5, man.
It's going to be years. I'm going to say 2 years before a new Geo comes out.
Absolutely.
So...
Granted, I don't think... I think, obviously, there'll be a drastic improvement to the IV core. The IV core hasn't been out for too long. They were testing it all throughout last season.
Yeah.
But obviously all that testing, and now that they've gotten to see the IV core in real action and get real wear and tear, not that it didn't before, but now it's got even more, and it's got the publicity, and you got more feedback.
Yeah.
They'll be able to fine-tune it and make it a little bit better, I'm sure. Other than that, God, I don't know, man.
There's not much to the gun to really change.
It comes down to...
You have an ASA, a regulator, into the body.
Yeah. That core is the whole gun.
Right.
And it's not like the LV1 where you've got, a separate bolt, and then the rammer is a whole separate issue, and then the valve is a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
You've just got that drivetrain. That's it.
Yeah, and it can't get any smaller.
It really can't.
They might be able to manufacture it smaller, but then you can't put it in your hand.
Yeah.
And because the gun is already super small, super light.
So I think to answer this question, I honestly have no idea what's in store for the next Geo except for a more refined IV core.
Yeah, that's pretty much all they can do.
Yep.
Even if you're like, oh, maybe they'll integrate the HPR somewhere, then that'd be dumb because people still need a grip. So
there you go. That is it. That is the last question we had. We are out of questions, which is probably a good thing because this video is almost 2 hours long at this point.
2 hours, 7 questions.
Yeah, it's alright. So yeah, that is it for our first Q&A session here on the Paintball Roundtable. I'm sure we'll have more in the future. Yeah. But besides that, thank you for being, as always, my co-host, which I think is pretty much a standard thing at this point.
Oh yeah, I enjoy it.
Cool. I like sitting here and talking about paintball too.
Yep.
So for any of you still actually watching this video, which I'm sure is 0 of you, I really appreciate if you are. If you enjoyed the video, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button. It really helps out the channel more than you could ever imagine. And that's all we got for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed this journey into our personal opinions on paintball. And we will see you guys next time. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good one.